Greetings and salutations, Redeemers, and welcome to another edition of Recipe Redemption. Some things arrived in the mail, and this is going to be my first video for 2022. This is a video that I've been anticipating and dreading in pretty equal measure. Yeah, probably actually more dreading, but I've been wanting to do. In my snack quest, I've tended toward more Asian and specifically Chinese snacks because, uh, hey, and we have a proliferation of Asian grocery stores in the immediate area, so it's really easy. It's kind of a gimme. So I need to branch out, and one of the ways I thought I would do that is, well, let's explore Chris's heritage. Now, I've done Scandinavian things before. I've tried lutefisk. I've tried the smørrebrød, even Finnish blood pancakes, blood patar. Um, these ones haven't really come across my plate, so to speak, because they're a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. I finally did. I ordered these like a month and a half ago. And they're here. And now that they're here, I'm scared. But nothing to it but to do it. Now you'll notice I'm outside in January. A brisk winter's morning. I think it's still in the 40s, but it might be actually down into the 30s. I don't know. I didn't really look at the weather station. But, yeah, now that the moment is here, I'm a little anxious. So, why am I anxious? What did I actually get? What rough beast? It's our come round at last slouches his way toward Bethlehem to be born. As it turns out, I have two things to sample today. I'm going to go for the easier one first. And that is hakarl. Now, hakarl is preserved Greenland shark. This is the meat of a Greenland shark that has been specially treated. Now, why do you have to specially treat it? Sharks don't pee. No. But Mike, what does that have to do with food? I'll tell you. Sharks don't pee. So as a result, all those waste products, the urea specifically, never leaves the shark's body. All the byproducts of protein metabolism, they don't leave the shark's body. So what the shark has evolved to do instead is sequester that urea, that harmful toxic chemical, in the tissues of its body, in its muscle tissues. And it seems to survive just fine. The older the shark is, the more of this urea gets stored and built up over its lifetime. Greenland shark have been known to live for 400 years. So, hold your pee for 400 years. This is kind of what happens. So, it's, Greenland shark meat right off the bone is potentially deadly. You'll get very, very sick if you eat it. If for whatever reason you continue eating it, you can go blind. And if for whatever reason that wasn't warning enough and you continue eating it, it'll kill you. But somewhere around the mid 1500s, someone, and we can blame him for all of this, someone discovered that if you take the hunks of the hakarl meat, of the Greenland shark meat, wrap it in cloth, like burlap or muslin or something. Wrap it in cloth and bury it for 6 months. The process of it breaking down, rotting, they say fermenting, but really rotting for 6 months underground, one presumes in an anaerobic environment because it's underground, um, gives it time for that urea to break down. Urea will naturally decompose, good word that, into ammonia, which is actually a gas. So that can actually off gas, and after 6 months, it's edible. Enough of the urea has actually dissipated that it is no longer as toxic. But it's kind of mushy because it's rotten shark. So then they take those hunks of semi rotten shark meat, hang them up to air dry for, I think, up to 2 months further. And that dehydration process allows this to firm up, has a much more pleasing texture. So let's try some. And it's interesting that it actually describes, um, okay, it's all in Swedish, but on the shipping manifest, it actually lists this as putrefied shark. Ooh, yeah, that's got a funky smell to it. So let's just squeeze out a couple of cubes of this. It's not as bad as I was expecting, even though I expected this to be the easy one. You'll see why in a minute. Yeah, it's definitely got that fish counter kind of smell. Summertime fish counter. Towards the end of the day when some of the catch has gotten a little whiffy. And even with my defective schnoz, yeah, I'm definitely getting the ammonia smell off of this. So this should be interesting. My mouth is salivating, and not necessarily in a good way, even though I'm hungry. I haven't eaten anything yet today. Oh, it's firm. Ooh. Yeah, that ammoniac flavor really hits you as sort of the number two punch. Number one, I've had like kind of fish jerky before. And that sort of reminds me of it. There's definitely that dried fish flavor. It doesn't, I guess, in a way, it tastes a little bit like spoiled fish, but really it does taste like dried fish, which in a way it kind of is. Mm. That ammonia punch really gets you. Okay. Now, along with it, I got brennevin. This is traditionally enjoyed with a spread of other things. You don't just eat this straight. With brennevin, which is a distilled alcohol, also known as aquavit. Um, mm, that is distilled with anise and caraway seeds. Mm. Really, really strong caraway flavor to that. It's very, very different. Mm, it's good. And it's interesting because it sort of evolves on the palate. Um, kind of right along with the sort of ammonia flavor of the hakarl. That's an interesting effect. The flavor itself, ooh, almost dropped that. The flavor itself is actually really tasty. Um, I like pumpernickel. Um, I could see actually using that in a cocktail because it's an interesting sort of spice note to it. Okay, so drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning, but it's kind of necessary to gird my virtual loins for this. The other item I got in the mail, surstromming, which is, oh, by the way, the hakarl is an Icelandic product, not a Swedish one. This is Swedish, and I am told that even the Swedes often don't eat this. There are people who see a canister strumming and it's like, oh, that's and people ask them, do you actually eat this in Sweden? And they say, no, uh, people in northern Sweden eat this. There's no distinction for you or me, but so surstromming is herring that is salted and then left to ferment. And it's actually fermented for some time and then placed in this can, and it continues to ferment in the can. And it's interesting, on the shipping documents, actually, it said that it should be refrigerated immediately. It's okay for a few days to be unrefrigerated, but should be refrigerated upon receipt. Well, this took 32 days for them to ship this to me. So this has been at room temperature a few times, I'm sure. Now, because it continues fermenting in the can tends to get pressurized. There's a little bit of a bulge here. It's not as bad as some I've seen where this becomes kind of almost football shaped. But still, it has a tendency to spit at you when you open it. Ah, man. I am really salivating over this, not for a good reason. This is notorious as being one of the smelliest foods on earth. Hence, I'm filming this outside. Because from what I'm told, the smell does not go away. Part of me really doesn't want to open this. Here we go. Okay. Some people have an immediate visceral response to this. So far, and it's not as pressurized as I thought it was going to be. Oh, that is delightful. Have yourselves a look at that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is a little bit more processed than some that I have seen videos of. I've seen where the herring are just salted and plopped into the can, guts and all, and they say you should Open the can, um, gut the fish, clean it out, and then enjoy. But this looks actually like, for the most part, just fillets, which makes me sort of wonder, is this actually, oh, yeah, surstromming fillets. I'll be darned. So, the thing about that is, from what I understand, there are enzymes in the spine of the herring that actually contribute to the ultimate fermentation of it. I may have a lesser product. Because honestly, it's bad. But it is not immediately gag-inducing bad, um, like I've seen on the internet. So there is something, and it might also be that my sense of smell was shot off in the war, but there is that sort of hot summer day garbage can smell. Faint hint of dirty diaper. And yeah, fermented or quote unquote fermented or partially rotten fish. Um, Presentation wise, it is not appealing. Um, but at least the fillets are recognizable as fish fillets. Um, Skin on, no discernible scales, thankfully. Um, but it's swimming in this sort of mucilaginous goo. It is normally enjoyed with flatbread and butter. I didn't bother actually going and getting any, go to the Scandinavian grocery store to get flatbread. I just have a tortilla here with some butter. It'll do. Let me get a little piece. Is there a little piece? I may actually have to get one of these fillets out onto a plate, because I want to try a bite all by itself. I think I want to try a bite all by itself. Down the hatch. The taste is much worse. Really salty. You get more of a hit of that fish in a garbage can flavor. That is not a pleasant sensation. Putting some of this on the tortilla. Hey, look, fish taco. Actually, let me just tear myself off a hunk to make sure I get that bit of the surstromming in with the flatbread. That did not help. Oh, it's so salty. That hits you first, right away. And then that rotting flavor. I guess in a way, sorry, in a way the butter helps. It adds a sort of a creaminess, and there is just a little bit of a sort of an ammoniac smell and flavor to it. So what the butter does is it sort of adds a little bit of creaminess, and it turns it in the direction of an overripe cheese. Um, there's sort of a brie kind of flavor to this. I like brie. I do not like this. Oh, wow. That is a delicacy that I honestly can do without. But I've tried it. So full on surströmming. This may be, as I said, because it's just the fillets. This may be surströmming light. I'm willing to accept that possibility, which means that the quote unquote real thing must be horrific. Um, I have seen other videos on the internet where people essentially projectile vomit for 5 straight minutes on video, um, which in some ways is entertaining, but in other ways, eh. Um, this was not that bad, but I don't want any more. I want, well, first of all, real breakfast, and two, not that ever again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This was the first video that I recorded for 2022. I thought I had it in the can, so to speak, but I was wrong. You see, when I finished recording, I cleaned up, I came inside, and later on that evening, catching up with Chris, I told her how it went. And so she said, well, so you think that the filleted surströmming wasn't as bad as the full meal deal, the real thing? And I said, yeah, it's possible. Because from what I understand, some of the enzymes that are in the spine and the guts, I guess, of the fish help in the fermentation process somehow. And so once you fillet it, that process stops. So it's canned and it doesn't get any stronger. We'll say, I was going to say worse, but stronger. So, the fillets were tolerable. They weren't great. I did not enjoy them, but they were tolerable. They weren't vomit inducing. And she said, well, but you don't know if the real thing is going to be worse. I said, I'm pretty sure, but I think I'm good. I think I can infer based on incomplete evidence that the real thing probably would be worse. And she said, but you aren't going to buy one to be sure? And I said, no, I don't think I need to. And she called me a pussy. So here we are a month later. I ordered another one, and this is the full meal deal, the real thing. Surströmming does not say fillets. It is the full thing. And you can tell it's the real thing. See if you can see the bulge in the can. That kind of indicates to me, and this is usually a bad sign with canned foods, if it's bulging, it means that there's something alive in there. That something has continued to happen after it got in the can. In this case, this is a desirable feature. This tells you that the process that you actually want to happen is happening in this can. It does mean that this is under pressure, and it's very taut. So, thus the bowl with the plastic bag. This serves two purposes. One, I can, got my can opener, I can pop the can open with a little bit of cover on it to potentially keep any spray from spraying me like a skunk. And secondly, when I'm all done, and I'm pretty sure I'm throwing this away when I'm all done, I can just double bag this and throw it in the trash, and no one else will have to suffer from smelling this. But we who are about to ingest salute you. Get my can opener on there, get the plastic covered over it, and okay. too big of a... Oh, there's a little bit of a spray. Okay. Well, that's out of the way. I may have to burn this can opener. Okay, so far, so good. Ooh, yeah, that's... That is vomitous. Oh, yep. That smells like garbage. Okay. Now, because it... Ooh, woo! Because this is whole surstromming, or, you know, I mean, they're still chunks, but it's still got the guts. You're supposed to actually gut these. Let's give you a look inside this can. Okay. So, there's some quality for you right there. Oh, that lovely sort of mucilaginous slime. That's a sign of quality. And a gray bacterial sludge that's sort of floating around in there. Let's see if I can actually get... yeah, and there's actually the skin of the herring here too. Well, let's see if I can't get a bite of this. Okay. Obviously very fishy. Obviously has that sort of smell of putrefaction. You know, calling it fermented is kind of deceptive, because think of fermented things, you think of, you know, pickles, beer, you know, all those good things that fermentation brings us. Cheese, even. But none of that stuff smells like this. Let's see if I can hook the spine and kind of debone this. I am really failing in this exercise. Okay, there we go. Got a little bit of fillet here. This is the tiniest little bite of this. Now, like I said, fishy. Kind of got a rotten garbage smell. Really getting it's the smell that you don't want to smell at the fish market. Shows that they are not really taking care of business. Still, it's so salty. And you know, again, when this is enjoyed by devotees of the form, this is, again, one of those things where getting really drooly, not for a good reason. Oh, there we go. Managed to hook the spine here and actually sort of debone this whole fillet so I can get a real bite. Not quite that big. There. A couple of bones off of there. There. It's a decent bite. A few more bones. So salty. Oh. So salty, sour, and then having that sort of soft fishiness. Oh, I've had enough. There is really nothing pleasant to this. Now, as a sort of final anecdote to share, reading up about surstromming, they have surstromming parties. I can't remember exactly what they're called. It has surstromming in the name, but some of the Swedish actually have surstromming parties where they will gather indoors and consume this and have themselves a party. And even they, the devotees, admit that it's pretty horrible. And I believe the direct quote, and this is pretty much the direct quote from the person they interviewed. The smell is horrible. The flavor is terrible, but it's always a good party when we open a can of surstromming. Still drooling because all the salt is really making me salivate. Ugh. It makes you want to wash this down with a strong drink. Oof. There is entirely the possibility that this is one of those delicacies that are just made to fool people into eating it. I don't know. But in any case, I've tried the full meal deal here. It's not good. It's scary to think the stinky tofu that I had a couple years ago is worse, is actually worse than this. This, I can sort of get it down. I don't want any more, but I can sort of get it down. Stinky tofu was worse. Oh. Yeah, speaking of that strong drink, I'm going to get one. So, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for enduring this with me. And if there's anything else that you'd like to see me try, oh, wow. Anything else you'd like to see me try, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. And as always, comment, subscribe, like the video, all the internet things. Assuming I survive this, I'll see you next time here on Recipe Redemption. Thanks for watching.